Hi there, Nick here from Conservation Careers and welcome to the podcast. Now today's guest is Becky Park, who's the Programme Manager for the Osprey Leadership Foundation. They work to inspire young people about the natural world and to help them to develop into conservation leaders who can make a real difference at both the grassroots and the international level. Today we discuss the Foundation's origins, its mission in conservation and leadership training, and how it connects UK with countries along the Osprey migratory flyway such as the Gambia. Becky shares a fascinating story about community, leadership, and the passion that drives impactful conservation work. We also delve into Becky's career, her role, and the challenges she faces, including the balance of remote work and family life. It's an inspiring, informative, and insightful podcast. Enjoy.
I'm Becky Park and I'm the Programme Manager for the Osprey Leadership Foundation.
Good morning, Becky. Yeah, good to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us and sharing your time with us. I was just saying before the chat, this is probably like the closest guest I've had physically in podcast recording world. I think if I got in my car, I'd probably be with you in about 10 minutes, which is quite nice. But weirdly, it's best to do it like this on Zoom because we can get a better recording and we've got people listening in and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of nice to know that we're not too far away anyway. Yeah,
absolutely.
So we're here to talk about you, your work, and particularly around the kind of Osprey Leadership Foundation that you work for. And maybe the best place to start is just, tell us a little bit about the Osprey Leadership Foundation and maybe let's start with why was it set up? What's the intention and where did it come from?
It's probably best to let you know, Tim McCrill, who founded the foundation, and I used to work together at the Leicestershire and the Wildlife Trust. Right. And both of us, during the course of our time there, undertook leadership training with a lovely chap called Barry Dorr very early on in our career. And we both really benefited from that. Because it just opens up your mind to your own potential, really, to influence people in the world around you, and kind of gets you thinking, do I need to wait until I'm in a line management position? Do I need to wait till I'm the boss to work out how to really get the best out of people around me? Or can I do that every day? And I think particularly in conservation, when you're working with a lot of volunteers, which we both were, you find that you are leading probably from the beginning of your career, you're acting as a role model. And, for Tim, when he left the Leicestershire and the Wildlife Trust, he wanted to set up this charity so that other young people could benefit from that experience and access that sort of training. So that's where it kind of all began. The Osprey is a little nod to the fact that, one, we're huge fans. He's the national expert on ospreys. But ospreys, like many flagship species, just link people across the world. They're a great thing to have in common. And for us, we work here in the UK and work in the Gambia, which again was work that was continued on from links whilst working from the Leicestershire and the Wildlife Trust. So it's in the name because it's just a really nice symbol of how we're all linked by wildlife. So that's where it began, was just this need to share something that we both really benefited from early on in our career, and how could we do that? And it grew from there, really. We're still very small. The two of us are supported by a wonderful team of trustees. Barry Dorr, who led our initial training, actually became the chair of our trustees and has really helped us develop the training material that we offer. And it's one of those things, it's quite an intuitive charity. We're very following our instincts. And we have a bit of a motto, Tim and I, quality over quantity. So we've wanted to watch kind of the reaction to what we're doing and focus on what's working well, and then really kind of go with the flow from that perspective as well. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we developed an online training program called Becoming a Conservation Leader. And we really weren't sure what the reaction was going to be. We put it out there completely free and just let people know within our own networks that it was available. And we were very lucky that right from the start, just people did take us up on it. It began as a 12-week online program. It's now a 6-week online program, and we've kept it free because it's inclusive. So all you need is a computer. You can be anywhere in the world. You listen to podcasts, you read some opinion pieces. Some of those are written by Tim and I, of just our own personal experiences, of little lessons learned along the way, just to try and help other people, I suppose, not stumble in the way that we might have done in the past, and just really place leadership in the context of conservation and people's real life jobs and what it feels like to be doing them. Because I think also, I mean, there certainly was for me early in my career, I don't know about you, but things like leadership and management felt very businessy and not necessarily something very prevalent in nature conservation, and a little bit cheesy. It's a little bit cheesy to think about. Asks you to kind of really tap into your self-awareness, really asks you to think about who you are and how you behave and what your role model. So it's very easy to kind of think, oh, that's not for me, that's not for me just now. But actually, if you kind of hear other people's experiences and think of it in that conservation context, you soon see where it applies, and how important it is for all of us, with the challenges that we're facing, not only in terms of just like our day-to-day jobs and lives, but kind of on a huge systematic scale of, huge environmental challenges and climate challenges that we want to overcome. And for me, what's wonderful about it is just seeing young people kind of have this light bulb moment and seeing their own potential and going, yes, I can do this. I can change the world around me, and perhaps achieve something on a much bigger scale. So I feel like I've kind of gone off in a bit of a tangent there, but that's kind of the crux of our work, really, is just offering training that just kind of opens up people's minds to their own potential, and then supporting them on that journey. Once that moment's happened, once that click's happened, and then just seeing them do wonderful things, just seeing them grow in confidence, go out, challenge themselves, push themselves out of the comfort zone, and take other people on that journey with them. It's just, it's very, very fulfilling thing to be working on.
I love it. Yeah. And a few things going to strike me about what I'm listening to you. And one word struck me at the very beginning, and you said it multiple times there. It's about potential. Yeah. It's about seeing the potential, allowing people to kind of develop the potential in themselves and also those around them. And also, I think when people think about leadership, I intuitively think about people in sort of senior level roles. Like, leadership is all about those at the top, those managers who are managing staff and organizations and people in somewhat sort of below them. Whereas actually what you're targeting and really approaching is people who are aspiring early career young individuals, and helping them to develop those skills and their potential that's going to allow them to flourish no matter what level in their career they're at.
Absolutely. And, I suppose the hope for us is 10, 20 years down the line, some of these young people may well be the CEOs of the big organizations, and they'll be so well practiced, and hopefully they'll aspire to go out there and do amazing big things and lead teams in wonderful ways and charities in wonderful ways, and just be really effective in what they're doing. Because if it is that kind of thing for us. If you wait until you're in the moment, you're learning as you go along. Whereas if you're already prepared, you already know how to get the best out of the people around you. You haven't got to go through all of that kind of personal journey whilst managing a team, whilst managing an organization, for example. You just kind of naturally move through the world and the people around you in just a very, very calm, very encouraging way.
Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting, I think, to reflect that traditionally, I think a lot of people would come into conservation because they have a skills-based background in ecology, biology. One of the natural sciences would be a typical route at university. It might be a degree, a master's, or a PhD, or whatever. And then you sort of hopefully then land a job and developing your career from there. But actually, a lot of that doesn't really set you up for success in terms of managing a project, a program, an organization. There's so many skills beyond that, which is about that word potential in yourself and others, that I think is sort of missing. I think probably within the sector, it's probably not typical to conservation, it's probably across many, but it feels like these are such vital foundational skills that people, if you have them, is going to help you and all those around you to flourish. maybe is it useful to kind of paint a picture as to what we mean by sort of leadership skills? Like, what are the sorts of, I don't know, names or characteristics, or how would you kind of, how would you characterize them? What would people learn through a program like you that would be good examples of the sorts of skills that people develop in themselves?
So we have core values that underpin all of our work.
Yeah.
There's four of them. The first is authenticity. So it's about leading from who you are, not what you are. So it's that kind of like the Gandhi expression, be the change you wish to see in the world. Being very true to yourself, which I think is something that at the moment is being expressed so wonderfully by the next generation of conservationists and young people coming in. They're very supportive of who they are, what they represent, and what they want to achieve in the world. So authenticity is really important to us, because when you really know who you are, you're able to really focus on what's important to you, and stand up for what you believe is right. So encouraging people to kind of be confident in who they are and what they believe in is kind of the first one.
So that's, and sorry to chip in, because I know you're going to
go right, go for it.
Yeah, so that's about sort of real sort of deep self-reflection and understanding yourself and your own values and beliefs and motivations and drivers and things like that. Yeah. Could you give some examples as to what people might learn about themselves? Is there anything you want to share about yourself? Like, who are you? What's authentic to you? What are your values that you think you're bringing to your career that is a good example?
I think one thing that's important to say is that it's really, really hard work trying to be something you're not, to fit in. Like the actual energy it takes to be someone you're not, especially to show up in the workplace and be trying to fit in, and it not really aligning with who you are. It's like so much energy and takes away from then what you're able to do effectively. But I think as well, it's about that moral compass, that little voice in your head that says I need to be doing something that I really, really believe in, which I think again is a common theme within nature conservation. We're all in it because we really want to do a good thing, we want to make a difference. So I think it's something that's very prevalent within people working in this sector anyway, is this drive, and a genuine love for what they do. So I think it's allowing yourself to express who you are and what you believe in the right way, because also people sniff out a fake a mile away. It doesn't take much for people to think, well, you say one thing and you're doing another. And if you're someone's line manager, or you're leading a team, or you're leading volunteers, one of the most important things is trust. And you want people to trust you, and they're not going to trust you if they don't think you're really being who you say you are. And the role modeling element is so important. Why would somebody that you're working with, why would a member of the public believe you or be inspired by you if you don't role model what you want from them? Essentially.
I love that, and I love the energetic connection there as well. I think you're right. It's really hard work being something you're not, whereas it's really easy to be who you are, and that's going to fill you up and keep you motivated, inspire you and those around you, and sort of see a kind of snowball effect. So yeah, number one, authenticity. Right. Okay. Yeah, I cut you off. What's
no, it's okay. And then we talk about being effective.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's very much about kind of like taking responsibility for your behavior and your attitudes, and the way that you build relationships with other people. It's very easy to think this stuff, things aren't in my control, I can't do anything about it, this is, I don't have a choice. But when we decide we do have a choice, we recognize our ability to choose, even if it's not an easy decision. Even if we know there's factors influencing that choice, when we believe that we can take, we're taking a choice for ourselves, it's very empowering. And it allows us to feel more in control of our lives, our action, our workplace. I think a really good example in nature conservation of that is kind of work-life balance, and sometimes feeling like really pushed to be doing lots of hours, extra work for free, and sometimes telling ourselves that that's not a choice that we have. But when we're brave enough to be strong, kind of hold our own boundaries, for example, and think, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to burn out. I've got to go home at 5, half 5. I need a rest, and you start taking those small choices, those small actions, taking responsibility for your behavior. You do feel empowered, you feel stronger. It's good practice to be, it's really hard to say no, but it's good practice to try saying no, and especially early on in your career as well. If you can build those, that kind of holding your ground, you can do that in the right way. And that's how we support, we offer this support of how to do these things in the right way. But just taking responsibility as well for even your development, personally, professionally. It's very easy to go, oh, I haven't done any training because it's not been offered to me, or I haven't learned anything new because it's not been offered to me. But actually, what do I need to know, and how can I grow as a person professionally, in my own life? What other skills, what other hobbies do I want to do? So yeah, really encouraging people to be responsible for their choices, for their actions, their attitudes, the way that they behave. And again, it's like raising that self-awareness, taking that time for reflection, and really thinking about those things. And it's not easy to do. So it's really handy to have people to coach you through that, mentor you through that, and a community to be around. And our next value is brave. This is about being resilient, and it's about having courage to stand up for what you think is right, and kind of challenge yourself and push yourself out of your comfort zone. Resilience comes up so much in our discussions. Just, when things are tough, when the doom and gloom gets a bit too much, when there's a lot of negativity, whether it's in the media, whether it's, I don't know, if you didn't get that funding, your project's not going how it should be, or you're coming to the end of another 3-month or 6-month contract and you've got to go through that application process again, or you're picking yourself up and you're moving house again because you're going on. How do we stay positive? How do we stay hopeful? Yeah. And how do we move forward? It takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, and just going back to the authenticity and being effective, that requires that bravery as well. So that's a big part of what we do. And finally, it's just community, really. Community is really important to us at the Osprey Leadership Foundation. Tim and I have been very, very lucky throughout our careers to be supported by a wonderful community here in Rutland, based, from Front to Nature Reserve, particularly for me as well, through the Global Bird Fair, and from a young age mixed with people of all ages. People who offered us opportunities, peers who are just, they become your friends, don't they? But they support you, throughout your career. There's still people that I worked on in my early 20s that I maybe haven't spoke to for months, but if I needed a work favour, I wouldn't hesitate to call. Having support around you makes all the difference. Having friends to go through these things with is so, so important. And we have a programme called Evolving Conservation Leaders, and that's a network of people who've completed our Becoming a Conservation Leader training. Yeah. We offer that group mentoring support. It's really, really good to have one-to-one sessions with somebody more experienced than you, who's got a bit of insight further down the line that you can go to with your problems, and perhaps can coach you in a challenging situation, but can also be a voice in your ear saying, you can do this, come on, you can do it. And giving you that little nudge that you need. But what's most wonderful for me about this group is they're all aged between 18 and 35. Some of them have just graduated, some of them are at uni, some of them are now kind of mid-career and they're managing teams. But the way that they support each other is just such a beautiful thing. And I have seen them come into networking sessions and share a challenge at work, or share something they're proud of. And just seeing them cheer each other on and champion each other is just wonderful. And it's so nice to have, as always, like-minded people to talk to about wildlife and your trips and the things we all have in common. So community is like our final value. And we run that through a whole scale of the people within our programs, the people that support our work, and trying to mix people together as well. So making sure there's crossover, and the people that donate to us and support our work meet our participants and they see how wonderful they are, and they have those conversations and they learn from different generations and their perspectives. Because we've all got so much to learn from each other as well. So Yeah, those are our 4 key values. That's what underpins all of our work. That probably gives you a bit of a sense of kind of who we are as an organisation and what we're trying to get out of people.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. And it really resonates, again, going back to that point about no matter what level you're at, even if you're outside the industry trying to get in, a switcher, an early career starter, a student, a job seeker, these are values we can all develop in ourselves, and it's going to kind of act as rocket fuel really for motivation and success through your career and for those around you. Yeah, I think it's really nice. Yeah, and I particularly like bravery. I thought that was quite sort of resonant too in terms of resilience and being strong in the community of people around you. We talk a lot about community, I guess, particularly in terms of career transitions, job seeking, and the difficult challenges we go through. And having people around you is so important. And conservation is one of those lovely, lovely places where generally people are really nice. We support each other. We have that thing in connection straight away, which is we both care about wildlife. So that's kind of on the table already. It's a kind of real leveler. Yeah. And so, I always think we're a very supportive, warm, open community. And networking is this horrible word, but I thought see it as like making friends, and that's what it is really, isn't it? Like once you connect with someone, we help one another, we support one another, that we're not in competition, we're here together.
Absolutely. Networking is such a funny thing, isn't it? I ran a couple of networking sessions at Global Bird Fair,
Yeah.
the careers networking sessions, and I always start anything like network related by just telling everyone it's really awkward, isn't it? And don't worry, we all feel the same way.
Yeah.
And you almost need to just start with an icebreaker that says kind of rate the awkwardness from 1 to 10 and then go from there, because it doesn't matter how many times you've done it, that kind of like putting yourself out there and going, oh hi, I'm Becky.
Yeah.
It's just it's a stomach churning for experience for a lot of people, but so important. You just don't know who you're going to meet, do you?
No, absolutely. And also related to that, I'm in a lovely position. I get to speak to people like you and other people in the sector quite a lot, and there is always a connection. We always have someone in common that we know, or something that we've done, or very, very quickly. It's a small world, conservation. It is. The connections are really kind of close. Yeah. Amazing. I wanted to kind of link back to the idea of the Osprey and the name in the foundation, this beautiful bird that I saw just a few days ago. I was really lucky, to sort of see them. That's part of the kind of conservation success that Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust and others, have had with the species. And what's beautiful about it is well, a few things. One is conservation success. 2 is it's very global, isn't it? You find it all over the world. It's not just a European, Africa. It is all over. It's very global. And B, they migrate, they link, they connect. So I'm right in thinking a lot of your work connects the UK to kind of Ghana and African countries, which is along the flyway of the Osprey. Mm-hmm. What do you notice about conservation efforts or conservationists, along the flyway? Are there differences? Are there similarities? How is Africa and UK conservation different? Like, I don't know, how would you respond to that? Yeah.
So much of our work is in the Gambia, some links into Senegal as well. And out there, really, our work focuses on primary school, secondary school age children, because, I think we would all say, there's so much more to be done here in the UK, but there isn't the opportunities out there like there are here, for education, let alone, wildlife conservation, education around wildlife conservation. We're fortunate to work with a really lovely organisation out there called the Gunja Project. And they've been delivering peer-led educational sessions for youngsters out there for us this year. We've also got good links with the Kartong Bird Observatory. So there are some children that we've now known since they were little primary age children, and they are now 18, 19, thinking about their futures. And I think we have, it's also worth bearing in mind the difference culturally out there. So some of the young women that we're working with out there, it's wonderful to see them kind of learning to become guides, and going and getting their ringing license, becoming guides and sharing their knowledge now and their passion with other people around them.
Yeah.
But also that focus that they also have on their family and support for their family, and still remaining very much part of their communities, and inspiring their communities around them. Some of the young men that we've worked with, we have this at the moment, we have a young man called Emmanuel who has come to the UK for the first time. I think it's possibly the first Gambian to ring an Osprey chick here in the UK as well. So it's quite an exciting moment for him. Absolutely wonderful to see the enthusiasm to come over and just learn so many different things. He spent time with different Osprey projects here in the UK, gone on some different ringing experiences as well. And there's another lovely young man that we work with in the Gambia called Dembo Jatta. He's somebody Tim's known since he was very young, and we have followed his progress. And he actually went to university, and we supported some of that. And we've supported a trip over here to the UK for Dembo as well. He went to the African Leadership University in Rwanda, and he's now just moving on to do a PhD. He hopes to come to Cambridge University at some point in the future and study here. So it's a very different process, you know, just that's a tiny snippet of experience for me of my involvement in that work. But it's just so different. It's a very good reminder of the privilege that we have here and the access to education, the access as young conservationists particularly to get training, to get experience, and those freedoms that we have as well to travel and learn new perspectives that the young people out there don't have that. It's wonderful connecting people on two different sides of a life cycle of a bird. And you know, the excitement that we still have here in the UK when ospreys return. And the people, and you know, if you've ever looked on the Facebook groups and the following, and then the energy and enthusiasm, and you know, these birds are known individually like people and followed in that way. And just, you know, almost cheers of support when they return alive. You know, it was just wonderful thing. We're very, very fortunate that we see that breeding cycle and we see chicks and we follow them on the nests because they're in one place. Out in the Gambia, you know, it's completely normal to see ospreys all year round, because of course they've got the juvenile birds out there and they see them all the time. And it's very much about supporting a much wider range of their life cycle out there, and how they can kind of bump up conservation efforts and just knowledge that they are leaving and they are coming here. They haven't stayed there all year. They do migrate and they come back. So there's so many. I can't claim to be an expert in that. Tim is the best person to talk to, especially about the Gambia. I've never been out myself, but he's done numerous trips. But it's such a special link for us to have, and just, you know, seeing the children benefit again just from that sense of community. They come together in nature clubs, they're making friends, they're bonding over wildlife, you know, and some of them go on to follow a career and pursue a career in wildlife conservation as well. So it's lovely. It's a lovely parallel, really.
Yeah, it's a great story, isn't it, as well? Yeah. And it never ceases to amaze me when I see migratory birds, and I always celebrate the first swallow of the year, and you know, genuinely I look forward to that so much in the swing, and every new migrant that arrives feels like, oh, spring is springing, the world is still turning, nature's still kind of connecting. And yeah, it's amazing to think that the swallows and the ospreys, we think of them as British birds. Of course they're not, you know. They fly down to Africa, they see all these amazing, what we see as African wildlife. They're going to see elephants and crocodiles and everything else, you know, that we often dream of seeing. And this is just a connection to them, and shows how conservation is international, you know, and we have to work across boundaries and cultures to kind of to help save biodiversity. Yeah. I want to kind of switch gears slightly then and talk about you, Becky, and your work and your career and what it's like to do your job, and all that side. Well, let's start with that. So you're program manager at Osprey Leadership Foundation. Who or what is a program manager? Like what do you do as a program manager? Like what do you tell your friends and family what your job is?
So kind of the core element of my job is coordinating our programs and the participants that, you know, are on them. That has included, you know, just pouring in a lot of my own experiences and my thoughts, and my personality really is in there as well. And the things that I believe in, the things that I feel strongly about, I'm able to weave those into our learning materials, which is a real privilege and slightly daunting as well, you know, a little bit vulnerable. So that's my day-to-day work.
Authentic, brave, by the way. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of it's admin. A lot of it's the computer. You know, we call it admin. I hate calling it admin. It's communication.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of communication, which, you know, we all do on the computer. It's making sure people know what they're doing, they're in the right place, and they're happy and they feel supported. And it's about listening to people and listening to what they need and what they want, and trying to build that into our work. One thing that's quite important to me and to Tim is that we don't just pour our own perspectives in there, because we are now past our own definition of what we consider to be young people.
Yeah.
So, we really take the time to try and hear what the current topics are, what is important right now, and try and evolve with those and listen to our participants, because at some point we could become irrelevant if we stop paying attention to what's needed. So yeah, a lot of my work is supporting people, supporting young people in their career progression, and their personal progression as well, because there's no doubt to me that it blurs over, and I think the more people allow themselves to be authentic, and that's an okay thing to express, it's going to be more prevalent in your work life. So yeah, I would say my job is very much of just supporting people.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy most about your role, and what, if anything, do you want to share about the kind of frustrations or challenges, just to kind of paint an honest picture about what it's like to do a job like yours?
The thing I enjoy most about my role is seeing a young person, perhaps very early on in their career, recognize that it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to feel nervous or self-conscious or not feel confident, but to try and do things anyway. And as they do that, to really gain confidence and try new things, and watch them go from those entry-level jobs quite quickly into bigger jobs, bigger projects, line managing people, leading teams of volunteers with confidence, and just really seeing people flourish and thrive in what they're doing and really enjoy themselves at the same time. I think that for me is really special. There are young people that I've worked with since they were in Wildlife Watch at kind of 11, 12, come through 10, 11, 12. And at Rutland Water, I used to run a youth group for kind of 11 to 16-year-olds. And some of them have stuck with me and come and joined in programs that we're now doing, the Osprey Leadership Foundation. And there's a couple of young people who I've seen go now into management positions, and I know them, they're hitting their 30th birthdays, but I've known them since they were 15. And I'm so proud of them. And they often say to me, "Oh, Becky, thank you so much for all you've done." And I say, "I didn't do it, you did it." I always think we act as a bit of a catalyst in their journey. And so for me, those are the really special moments. I was very, very proud this weekend at Global Bird Fair. We ran a panel discussion of young women talking about their experiences as women in conservation, the challenges they faced. And one of the young women on that panel I've known since she did a work experience placement kind of 15 years old. And she got up and spoke so bravely, so eloquently, talked about things that potentially could have been career limiting. And I was just so, you just can't be prouder to see somebody moving through the people around them in that way. So it was so authentically, so brave, so brave. And that makes me really proud, really, really proud.
Amazing. Yeah. Any challenges, barriers, frustrations? You don't have to, but it's just an opportunity. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's right to say, I think one thing I find hard is I remote work now. From home. I spend a lot of time on my own. It's a funny old thing to do. It's got its benefits and its perks. I'm a mum of 2 young children, so I have a 6-year-old and a almost 4-year-old. And one of the reasons I started working for the Osprey Leadership Foundation was because when I had my son, I just could not make it work to go back into my old role at the Leicestershire and the Wildlife Trust. I mean, there's a whole nother conversation there about the cost of childcare and how hard it is to balance, and also how the roles work in conservation and what's required of you. It's quite a demanding job. And so I knew kind of it was time for change. And I think I've been so fortunate that I've been able to work for the Osprey Leadership Foundation. I have worked flexibly from the beginning, and my role's grown as my children have grown, and I've been able to expand my hours. And I used to work at night. I don't even know how I did that. I used to just work at night. making sure that everybody was on the programs, and then we'd lead discussions kind of 6 p.m. So I could swap over with my husband. But now my children are in childcare. Thank goodness COVID years are over. They're in childcare. I can work in the day. And just the difference it makes being able to work within office hours. I mean, if you'd have asked me to do this podcast a couple of years ago, I'd have just had to say, are you available at 7 o'clock at night? Those sort of things have been hard challenges and lonely challenges. Often remote working, especially with such a small charity, thankfully Tim and I were very good friends, and I can ring him at all sorts of strange times of day. We both have young children, but there's I'm very, very wary that I've rarely seen jobs that I could apply for successfully and do successfully without having to ask for a lot of flexibility. So I think for me, at the point in my career, I'm loving what I'm doing, but it's very on my mind that there's not a lot of opportunities for people in my situation that have a lot to give to the sector, and I really hope that changes. I do really hope that changes, and I hope through my own work that I'm inspiring people to see things differently and to think about the different ways people need to work. Things are changing, so that is on my mind, and it's hard. Like I say, I think the biggest challenge is remote working is lonely. For somebody that spent the most of their career in a very people-focused role and used to having lots of people around, you need people to bounce your ideas off and talk to and encourage and get you out of your own head. That's the other thing as well. Those moments of doubt.
Yeah, that's really valuable to share. Thank you. Yeah, and to acknowledge. Yeah. Before we sort of think about sort of wrapping up, and we've got a couple of people listening, we're going to kind of throw it open to them after we finished our recording for questions. I'd like to ask a few more questions of you, Becky. One being, like, when you look back at your career so far, what have been the kind of key moments, that have helped to kind of propel you to where you are now? What kind of stands out in that context?
I think the earliest point in my career is 20 years ago now. It's a different place now, but I think being in moments where I'm the only girl, or the only at the time girl, in the crowded room, and somehow having a bit of grit about me, and perhaps managing to ignore the fact moments where I'm an inconvenience or didn't feel like I belonged or shouldn't be there, and somehow just going, I really love this, so I'm going to do it anyway. Those moments stand out to me as being very important looking back. I have no idea how I had that bravery to do it. But also the opportunities that people have offered me, and I've taken them. And I think that stands out to me. People who I've been very fortunate to have in my life. As a young person coming into conservation, I was very lucky that a friend she wasn't my friend to begin with, another young woman volunteering a few years older than me, said she would act as my chaperone so that I could volunteer at a young age. The people that have given me lifts to volunteering or said, come along and do this, or do you want to go out and try this? People who've helped me learn to identify birds, learn to identify wildlife. Those moments are so important, almost more important to me than the degree that I did. Because without them, I wouldn't have followed, wouldn't have ended up where I am. I was offered a job at 18 working for the Global Bird Fair. That if somebody had asked me, what do you want to do, I would not have said that at all. But that job led to other jobs and kind of grew from there. So I think, those moments really stand out to me, the ones that you didn't really expect to find yourself doing, and you just kind of followed your instinct and go, I'll give it a go. Those have been really important moments to me. And I think other moments that have been really important is where I've felt to pay that forward. Just try and give those opportunities back. Or if you move up a level, take someone with you, or find that opportunity for the next person, the next young person coming through, to have that too. Because that for me has always been a great sense of fulfillment, is knowing that you've helped someone else along their journey or overcome a challenge or a barrier. Those have been big moments for me in my career, and things that kind of will remain in my heart forever, I suppose.
Amazing. Yeah. Throw the rope ladder back down and let people
reach back.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, well, as we sort of start to wrap up, I just want to ask some kind of more open questions then, if I can.
Yeah, of course.
Fun, but a bit more kind of delving as well. I always say it's a quick, easy one. It's certainly quick. It's not necessarily easy. But if we could transport you to one place on the planet and you could see one species,
Oh my
where would
goodness.
you go and what do you seek to see?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh, that's hard, Nick. One place. I'm not well traveled.
Oh, well, there's an
So
opportunity there.
yeah, honestly, you could probably take me anywhere and I'd just be having the time of my life. Um,
Come to
I would
Ireland.
just be blown away. Um, one place is, I couldn't tell you the species. One place I really want to go is to Panama, to a place called Canopy Towers,
Ooh,
because I met through when I was very young, I helped somebody from an organization called Canopy Towers set up their stand. And we've remained friends ever since. And every time we meet up once a year, we have a selfie together. And I've got selfie every year since I was very young. And now my children are in these photos. And every year, my friend, who's called Carlos, says, you must come to Panama, to Canopy Towers. And I say, I've still not got the money yet, but
oh,
I'll go. But I've heard so much about the wildlife there and just the place and the people. And so I think on the whole, that is just somewhere that's on my bucket list that I have to go. So
yeah,
if I could be transported, it needs to be there, because I've been
yeah.
saying for 20 years that I need to go there and I haven't been yet.
Lovely. Make it happen. Take the kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, if I could make you like a global czar for the day, a global leader, whatever term you want to use, and you could enact a new law, a decree to try and help conserve the environment, improve wildlife in some way, what what law or decree would you say to the human race?
That you have to invest in it, that it has to become a priority for investment. The money needs to go into it and the jobs need to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that we have to find a way to make it the core of everything that we do,
Mm.
so that we're living a sustainable life. I think that's the only answer, that humans have to become sustainable and they have to preserve this planet by whatever means, but it's the priority. I think, yeah, that would be the message from me. I'll work out the details later if that's okay.
You certainly can. Yeah. And I think the last question relates to something actually you said earlier, actually around bravery and resilience, which is, yeah, are you optimistic for the future of wildlife? And if so, how and why?
I am.
Yeah.
I am, because I get to work with some incredible young people, and they are full of hope and full of energy and belief that they can change things. It's the best thing about working with young people in conservation. They have not been ground down by anything yet, and that energy that they are bringing, the way that they support each other, the way they raise each other up, the way that they are prepared to stand up for what they believe in. um, you know, I just think it should, it brings me so much hope, and we should all be paying so much more attention to what they're doing and how they want to do things. Because if we were to listen, if we gave them more opportunities to influence what's being made, decisions that are being made at the top of organizations and, in government in the world, I think it would be a much better world for all of us to live in.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much, Becky, for joining the podcast, for sharing your time, your thoughts, your advice. If people want to find out more about the Osprey Leadership Foundation, the amazing work you're doing, where should they go? Where should we send them?
You can check out our website, which, can you just pop a link for?
Yeah, we'll pop a link in.
But also just, I'm very much a fan of just get in touch and have a chat. So send me an email and, book in a chat and ask me questions and have a conversation, because you can learn so much more than popping on our social media or popping online.
Right, brilliant. We'll pop a link in. I can see it from me. It's Osprey LF leadershipfoundation.org. Yeah.
Right.
We'll
Thank
link
you.
in. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Becky. It's been wonderful chatting.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's lovely to chat to you, Nick.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. If you did, then please do hit the subscribe button to get notified of new episodes as they drop. And also please give us a rating or a review, because it really helps us to get in front of more people, and we really enjoy reading them all. As you'll have heard, our podcasts are now recorded in front of a live audience who sit in and listen to the chat, and then after the mics are turned off, they get a chance to talk to the host, to share their thoughts, and also to ask questions. It's a really great format. If you'd like to be in the audience, all you need to do is join the Conservation Careers Academy. Now, in the Conservation Careers Academy, you'll get full access to the world's biggest conservation job board, listing over 15,000 jobs, volunteer and internships across the globe each year. You'll also enjoy access to our amazing CC Pro private members community with regular events, networking and support. Plus, you'll get full access to our growing library of career boosting resources, guides and templates. And best of all, it only costs a few dollars, euros or pounds per month to join the Academy. Now, to find out more, please visit conservation-careers.com/academy, or simply click the join button at the top of our website. See you on the inside.